Good evening, everyone. Um, Not sure it's already gone forward. Anyway, I would really like to start by saying an immense thank you to the Sitaram Jaipuria Foundation and with a heart full of gratitude for recognizing women scientists. And I would like to say that this has basically been for my commitment to child neurology. I started doing child neurology after I did my MD Pediatrics from All India Institute and went to California, where I had a Rotary International Foundation fellowship. And after having that, went to Jamaica, where, the University of West Indies, spent 3 years, we did that. But my true beginnings occurred when I joined PGI Chandigarh. And thanks to the head of department, Professor B.N. Aswalia, who motivated me to take up a subject that nobody wanted to take during those days, and that was pediatric neurology and neurodevelopment. In fact, this did not exist as a specialty, and mainly children were being looked after by adult neurologists as well as pediatricians. So I got my training at Johns Hopkins Hospital and at the Kennedy Krieger Institute, and it was my great fortune that I could, have these stalwarts, learn from them and move forward, so much so that I was invited to Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children later to be a consultant there. But my main thing was that I tried to build what did not exist at that time, because when we talked about pediatric neurology and neurodevelopment, there were, the adult neurologists felt like 70% of pediatric neurology is adult neurology, same thing. And I had to literally, fight it out for the institute. And I can see Dr. Chawla smiling on that. And the head of department, the directors, all helped us finally get that into shape. And then finally, of course, we also started the DM program. The one thing I would like to state here is transforming care for children with neurodevelopmental disorders. Earlier, these children were totally neglected, and nobody talked about neurodevelopment and children with special needs. We held the first workshop on developmental disabilities in children in 1988, and Kenneth Holt and later on Brian Neville from London were our associates. And they helped us a lot in training many of these people. And you can see some of these ladies and gentlemen who are standing in this have been leaders in childhood disability in India later on. More than the disability per se, the problems that existed were the psychosocial problems of the family. And indeed, when I used to examine these children, the sad stories of women who were being blamed for the birth of a child with disability and were left almost abandoned to take care of the child by herself. So I made it a point that I must call, the mother, the father, the grandparents, and explain to them that, this is not the mother's fault, and that as a family they have to work towards rehabilitation. So we developed the model of multidisciplinary care under one roof with home-based rehabilitation. And personally, I have seen more than 38,000 children with special needs during this period, most of them cerebral palsy. And as I said, we also had lots and lots to do in the community because people would not come out with their disabled children. And during these community outreach programs, we actually did medical camps, because if we called it a disability camp, nobody would come out. So much was the stigma attached to disability. And therein, where we would go house to house, you would find a severely disabled child being tied to the cot, because they would not want the child to come out. So we have moved from that day to this now, where we have so many neurodevelopmental clinics in the country. We also realized that the Indian scenario, the spectrum of cerebral palsy, was very different from the West. So our study on over 1,000 children with cerebral palsy showed that not only the spastic variety, but the quadriplegic, that is the most severe variety of cerebral palsy, was our commonest, more than 70%. And we did the same study after 10 years. And we found that although, because of the better neonatal care, we did have a slight decrease in quadriplegia and a proportion of increase in diplegia, but we still have cerebral palsy of the bad variety, which is not really seen in developed countries. And unfortunately, there are many preventable neonatal factors which are responsible for this, particularly birth asphyxia. There was this controversy whether birth asphyxia really leads to cerebral palsy or not. And, perhaps to protect the gynecologists, it was said it wasn't. But then we showed that almost 50% of our cerebral palsy cases had a history of birth asphyxia. Neonatal sepsis, again a very preventable cause, and neonatal jaundice. And therefore we brought this to the attention of many of the administrators and work towards trying to alleviate these issues. Similarly, for autism, we realized that many of the children who were being referred to us either as mental retardation or speech delay or some other diagnosis were actually having autism. Autism in India at that time was hardly known, and people thought that in India it doesn't exist. It was meant to be like cold mothers in the West whose children had autism, little realizing that we were not actually diagnosing them. So we picked up the early behavioral characteristics and published them, and also established the stability of an early diagnosis of autism so that they could be picked up early, they could be diagnosed early, and that diagnosis was found to be stable even after 5 years when we did the formal testing. And as you can understand, early intervention is so important. It changes the destiny of a life. If you start early, you save the child. So early intervention was our motto. Then, of course, we did many randomized controlled trials, established the efficacy of risperidone in improving behavior, established, again, home-based sensory integration therapies. Please be advised that less than 2% of children with disability in India have access to rehabilitation centers. So our main goal was to provide a method where they could get it at home. And this is what we worked for. I believe that science must translate to care. And therefore, while I have done lots and lots of research, and I cannot cover everything here with 500 papers, etc., but taking this to the grassroots was my main objective. Including, we had so many workshops, not just for medical people, but for paraprofessionals, for teachers, for grassroots workers, community level workers, and the administration, so that we could sensitize people towards early intervention. I'm really glad to say that I was listed among the top 2% scientists globally for the 4th consecutive year this time. Did many research projects. The other areas which we worked on was epilepsy. We followed these children, different types of epilepsies in children, what are the best drugs, what are the comorbidities, etc. CNS infections was another area that we worked upon closely with our PICU colleagues, intensive care colleagues, and particularly in the area of neurocysticercosis, which was rampant then in India. It was the commonest cause of acquired epilepsy, and we did a number of randomized controlled trials, most of them first in the world literature, to make an early diagnosis, to change the kind of therapy. Earlier it was thought that cysticidal therapy is not useful, and we established its efficacy, etc. I mean, I could go on listing, but that's not the idea. So that was one preventable thing, and I must say that these days we hardly see neurocysticercosis. The government has taken action, the administration has taken action, and considering that we used to have 100 new cases per year, and I think we had 5,000 case files of neurocysticercosis in our clinic. Of course, many collaborative projects with Germany, with Karolinska Institute. With Karolinska Institute, we had a major project on CNS infections, where we showed that the organisms responsible for meningitis and meningoencephalitis have changed in our country. And this is now being seen throughout the country. Received many awards for things, and I'm glad that I have been acknowledged as founder of child neurology in India in the International Book on Founders of Child Neurology. Our work, and this is primarily the work of Intensive Care Unit, the principal investigator being Dr. Suneet Singhi, and I accepted this on his behalf it was acknowledged as the best paper, wherein we showed that fluid restriction in meningitis is harmful to the child rather than helpful, and how by controlling cerebral perfusion pressure we can improve the outcome of a child. In addition, there will be lots of global educational leadership, and amongst these 32 of these meetings, I have personally gone to the remotest areas, including Lithuania, Siberia, Sudan, etc., wherever there was a need for training in pediatric neurology. Lots of collaborations with global organizations, and from clinic to policy. Policy development, because that changes the way people look at things. So we formulated policies for child development guidelines, also WHO guidelines on meningitis, and lots of public awareness campaigns. I was the national delegate for Asian Oceanian Child Neurology Association, and with their collaboration, we've had many educational seminars in India. With the International Child Neurology Association, been the General Secretary President. Now I'm the current President, the first person from India to be elected as President of the International Child Neurology Association. And through its ages, we have many programs started in India, in neighboring countries, as well as in other resource-limited countries. I'm again very, very thankful to SJF Foundation for this award which I received. And the meaning of this award is beyond my receiving the award. It is a validation of decades of perseverance, a recognition of women in scientific leadership, and a major signal to young girls to say, you belong in science. After I got this award, many of my female younger colleagues have asked me, ma'am, what is this award for? How can we apply for it? And that's such an encouragement. It's a commitment to serve with greater responsibility and to strengthen global advocacy for children with child neurology. I have tried to use this to promote research for my younger colleagues, particularly fellows who don't have money to do research. So, try to fund them. And this is not just an award. It has a ripple effect. It goes much beyond that, and it encourages many young physicians, especially women, to enter the field of child neurology or science in general, I must say. And obviously, if these awards come and if these recognitions come to the next generation, more and more funding doors will open for them. So it's really beyond just an award. It comes with a responsibility of continuing the mission and expanding the global educational outreach through ICNA. That's what I'm doing. And strengthening early childhood development programs, supporting translational research, which is useful to our country and to other countries who don't have resources. So with my deep gratitude to my institute, our department, colleagues, patients and their families, and my family, particularly my parents and my husband, who supported me all the way through. And of course, again, a big thanks to SJF for honoring me with this award. I think it will go a long way for women scientists, helping them, motivating them, and reaching to where I'm standing today. Thank you so much.